sorry. Do we have any additions or corrections that need to be made to the July agenda? Any add-ons that we know of? Okay.
If not, I make a motion to approve Spangler.
Have Commissioner Spangler with a motion. Do we hear a second?
Commissioner Wright, second.
Commissioner Wright have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I will go on due to I think new law 488. Is there anybody here in the audience or online with the general public that wants to make a statement or comments before the post commission? Hearing none, we will move on. Roll call.
Commissioner Beverly.
Here.
Commissioner Birchfield. Commissioner Carter.
Here.
Commissioner Cherry.
Here.
Commissioner Green.
Here.
Commissioner Halsey.
Here.
Commissioner Isbell.
Present.
Commissioner Jackson.
Here.
Commissioner Russell.
Here.
Commissioner Spangler.
Here.
Commissioner Wagner.
The host would like you to unmute your microphone. You can press *6 to unmute.
Commissioner Wright.
You are unmuted.
Vice Chair Faulkner.
Here.
And Chairman Parton.
Here, thank you. If you would, Director, if you get a disclaimer.
All post commissioners have previously agreed to recuse themselves from any vote that would constitute a conflict of interest. The most obvious of these would include issues that involve our own departments or some we know personally. Because we have already agreed to this, it should be noted that on routine matters, it will be assumed non-verbally that these commissioners have abstained from the vote. In bigger, more controversial issues that may have a more overt conflict of interest, it may have an appearance of impropriety. Those applicable commissioners will still verbally abstain from those votes.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to number 3 on page 2, any additions or corrections that need to be made to the June minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Have a motion to approve by Commissioner Green.
Second, Commissioner Beverly.
Second by Commissioner Beverly. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to item 4, decertification hearings for July of 23.
Yesterday, the informal subcommittee heard these matters of decertification. In the case of Warren County Sheriff's Office and a Stephen Allen Carpenter, they voted to accept his surrender of his certification. In the matter of Sammy Ray Allen of Tennessee Highway Patrol, they approved the default order of decertification. In the matter of Tony Marco Gilliam of the Sewanee University Police Department, they voted to approve a default order of decertification. In the matter of Matthew James Manus of the Middleton Police Department, they ordered a default order of decertification. In the matter of Brandon Douglas McGowan of the Tennessee Highway Patrol, they voted to take no action. In the matter of Christopher William McKinney of the Clinton Police Department, they approved that to move straight to a formal hearing. In the matter of Timothy William McVeigh of the Metro Nashville Police Department, they approved an order of no action. In the matter of Marcus Nolan of the University of Memphis Department of Public Safety, they approved the continuance. In the matter of Russell Kent Peters of the Tennessee Highway Patrol, they approved an order of default decertification. In the matter of Barrett Alexander Reed of the Gallatin Police Department, they approved an order of default decertification. In the matter of Dwayne Murray Smith of the Memphis Police Department, that matter was moved and continued at the request of the attorney. In the matter of Ashley Renee Stonerock of the University of Tennessee Knoxville Police Department, they approved an order of default decertification. In the matter of Daniel Cameron Wilkie of the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, they disapproved the matter and voted to take no action. In the matter of Roger Keith Williams of the Memphis Police Department, they approved an order of default decertification. In the matter of Jacob Anthony Weiser of Tennessee Highway Patrol, they approved an order of default decertification.
Thank you, Director. Is there any discussion or comments from the board reference the decertification hearings held on July 20? If not, entertain. Have a motion to approve. To hear second. Second by Commissioner Jackson. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving over to page 3 of our agenda. At the top, pre-employment requirements, Estill Springs Police Department.
The Estill Springs Police Department requests a criminal record waiver for Sonia Louise Previtt. In September of 2017, Ms. Previtt was convicted of DUI in Franklin County, Tennessee. Ms. Previtt has since satisfied all court-ordered sentencing fines and fees.
Thank you. Come on up, Chief Baker. If you would identify yourself for the record and kind of go over with the board what you're seeking and what you found in your pre-employment investigation, sir.
Okay, I'm Chief Matt Baker. I'm with the Estill Springs Police Department out of Franklin County, Tennessee. I have requested a pre-employment waiver for Sonia Previtt. She was being convicted of DUI. As the record reflects, in 2017, be a DUI first offense. Like I said, I'm asking for right now. She is not an employee at the Estill Springs Police Department. She's employed at the Southern Tennessee Medical Center. Officer background did show that she did have a DUI as well as some other charges that was expunged though. But the only thing that's on her record right now is the DUI.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Is any questions of Chief Baker of Estill Springs Police Department from the board? I will ask Chief Baker. I'm looking through the packet here, and there's seems to be a pretty good history of DL driver's license issues, and you're saying those have been cleared up.
She does have a driver's license, and they was expunged. Yes, sir.
There's no questions of the board. If we'd ask Ms. Prickett to come up, and I'm sure that if she could, please. Thank you, ma'am. If you could give your full name for the record.
My name is Sonia Louise Previtt.
Thank you. Ms. Previtt, could you talk to the board a little bit about your case and kind of the circumstances that led up to your incident?
Yes, sir. On September of 2017, I was driving down the road in my hometown, and I passed an officer that knew who I was and knew I didn't have a license and that it was suspended for child support. He turned around and followed behind me, and as I went into a gas station, he initiated a traffic stop. I did have a alcoholic beverage opened, and I did try to hide it. I ended up spilling it all on my floorboard, so when the officer came to my window, that's all he smelled. So he asked if I would do a field sobriety test, and I did, and then I didn't pass it. So he took me to our hospital to do a BAC test.
Okay. Questions of the board. You're recognized, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks for being here. What was the results of the blood alcohol?
For the alcohol, it was negative, but they did find a drug in my system. At the time was methamphetamines. It was the level was 0.13.
And 0.13 was over the limit for being impaired while driving.
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
You're recognized, Mr. Beverly.
It says there was a child in the vehicle as well. Was that your child or someone else's?
Mine.
Okay.
I've got a couple of questions, if I may.
You're recognized, General Terry.
Ms. Previtt, this was about almost 6 years ago, and you say this was you were found to be impaired, but it wasn't due to alcohol.
Yes, sir.
Right? It was due to meth.
Yeah, we didn't find out until, I already pleaded guilty to the DUI so I could get the driving on suspended, which was, I had, I think, 3. I went ahead and pleaded guilty for the DUI before we knew what it was that was in my system.
Can you tell us a little bit about how your life has changed over the past 6 years, kind of where you're at now? Because that sounds like it was kind of a low point in your world.
It was a very, very low point. I had to go through a lot of hard things. I did go to a local treatment facility the next door here in Nashville. I was there and I completed the program, but I had to work on myself. It's a great starting point, but you have to deal with the consequences of your actions afterwards, which I have. I've worked on myself for years, and I keep continuously working on myself. And I just this has always been a passion for me that I always wanted to get into, I just made a mistake.
I don't have any other questions.
You recognize Commissioner Green.
Mr. Green, what have you been doing as far as work and lifestyle since this arrest?
Well, I completely cut off everybody I was associated, including my family at that time. Sorry, I keep breathing. I had to, take a look at my life and see what routines I had to change, what behaviors I had to change. And I started working on that little by little, what I could change at that moment. Then I would set new goals for myself. So I moved, I got me a new place. Just been focused mostly on work and my kids.
Where have you been working?
Southern Tennessee Regional Hospital. It's our local hospital in Winchester.
What capacity there?
Do what?
What capacity? What job do you have there?
I am patient access. I do all the admissions, registration.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about the driving on revoke that it looked like you got after this? And the chief had said your driving, the suspendeds were expunged, but has the driving on revoke been expunged as well?
Yeah, yes, sir. So the driving on revoke, I had cut everyone off. I knew I needed to get a job to pay all the fines, and I did have a breathalyzer put in my vehicle, so I had to pay monthly on that too. And I had no other choice but to drive back and forth to a job to get my license, to pay on my license to get my license back. And I know that's wrong, but we don't have taxis and stuff where I live, so. And I didn't have no one who could pay me back and forth to a job.
Well, they required you to have an interlock device while your license was revoked.
No, I had to I had to pay all my court fines and stuff, and get off pay all my court fines. And once I completed all that stuff, and I sent it. I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember how they made me do it. Paid all my fines, and then once I paid all my fines, after a year, because I had to wait a year before I could even try to get my license back, I had to go to, I'm sorry, I can't remember how I had to do it. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I do.
It was just a lot of processes.
In revoke.
No, but I had my license back before I got the machine put in, yes.
Commissioner Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Ms. Previtt, could you tell us about the treatment that you received?
I received 30 days inpatient at the next door, which offered, therapy, psychological therapy, and how, they taught you how to function. I'm sorry.
Do you continue to go back for, I know it's probably not Alcohol Anonymous, but some sort of reoccurring treatment to make sure that you don't fall onto the same situation you was in using methamphetamines?
No, sir, I don't go. believe it or not, working in the emergency room department, I see people coming in all the time. DOA, I see the reactions of the family members when a doctor comes in and says, "Hey, they didn't make it." That's therapy enough for me. And I almost lost everything I ever loved on that drug. I'm not willing to sacrifice that ever again for anything.
And was this arrest without incident? You didn't fight the officer or anything?
No, sir.
Okay. And when did you officially get off of probation?
I think in 2020, I believe, 2021. Because it was 2 consecutive 1129s.
I just want to say that I wish you the best in whatever you do. I personally can't vote to approve this because of it been just a short time. It's less than 6 years. But whatever happens, I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Commissioner Carter.
Could you share with us how that got in your system? Did you ingest it? Do you inject it? Do you inhale it?
No, I ate it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion as to the direction this board wants to go with this matter.
Commissioner Beverly, I'd make a motion to deny.
Mr. Russell, second.
I have a motion and a second to deny. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I will be one abstain. Ms. Privet, Chief Baker, this is one of the most interacting pieces that I've seen since I've sat on this board. Nearly every member of this committee was involved in the discussion on this, and it's not. We're very grateful for your health and whatnot, and we don't want you to be turned in a negative direction because this request has been denied. But take the door closing and look at the door that's opened, okay, and stay forward, okay, because it sounds like you've been through a lot, but we just we have to look at these things and moving forward, but we want you to be successful, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on, Memphis Fire Department.
Memphis Fire Department requests a criminal record waiver for Lewis Alfred Hawthorne, hired July 1st, 2023. In February of 1983, Mr. Hawthorne was convicted of illegal weapon carry. In April of 1983, Mr. Hawthorne was convicted of second-degree burglary. Both convictions took place in Des Moines, Iowa. Mr. Hawthorne has since satisfied all court order sentencing, fines, and fees.
Okay, thank you. Director, is Mr. Hawthorne still in NCIC as a convicted felon?
Supporting documents.
Who's here for Memphis? Thank you. Are you Mr. Hawthorne? Is Mr. Hawthorne a convicted felon?
Background check. I'm Chief Faulkner, Chief Fire Marshal with the Memphis Fire Department.
Yes, sir.
Good morning to the commission. We did a background check and found things in his background from '83.
Okay. Did you run a criminal history, Chief?
Yes, we did.
And does that criminal history show him in the NCIC?
NCIC did pick it up. MPD ran the report, but it was in '83, and I don't think he's showing as a criminal check now. I think they did pick it up on a check for law enforcement.
Right, and inside that check, second degree burglary is generally a felony. Sir, are you a convicted felon? You are a convicted felon? Is that what you're saying? Come up to the podium. I'm just trying to moved forward here. But are you a convicted felon, sir?
That was 40 years ago. According to my recollection, that was a felony charge, yes.
Okay. Being that it's a felony, there's nothing else that we can take action on.
Dennis Gregory for the agency. Yeah, the rules are rather explicit. I'm looking at 1100203 paragraph D, not have been convicted of, pleaded guilty to, or entered a plea of no contest to any felony charge. Has a pre-employment requirement.
Right. Convicted felons in this state cannot carry weapons, nor be in law enforcement. That's not waivable. Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Commissioner Rustle, motion to disapprove.
Have a motion to disapprove. Here, second. Have a second. Any further discussion on this motion? Commissioner Cherry.
Commissioner Cherry, just one point. I know this is a long time ago, and I have great sympathy for your situation. And the only thing I would suggest is perhaps to seek a pardon from the governor in Iowa where this conviction happened. Try to get that off your record, and maybe seek some legal counsel on whatever other ways you might be able to get this off your record. There are laws about expungement of convictions that are very explicit, but I hate to see this on your record. I know you've probably lived a good life over the last 40 years, and it's a shame to see this on your record still, but we wish you the best. Unfortunately, our rules and statutes just don't allow us to take the action you'd like us to take today. So, wish you the very best, sir.
Thank you. Anything else? Hearing none, there's motion on the floor. All in favor of the motion of denial indicate saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on, Memphis Fire Department again.
Memphis Fire Department requests a criminal record waiver for Theodore Patrick Shockley, hired June 12, 2023. November of 1988, Mr. Shockley was convicted of unlawful possession of a controlled substance in Memphis, Tennessee. Mr. Shockley has since satisfied all court-ordered sentencing, fines, and fees.
Thank you. Director, in the packet, is this a possession of controlled substance in a misdemeanor amount, or is it again, what's our NCIC? Could come forward, please. If you would, identify yourself for the record.
Theodore Shockley.
Thank you, Mr. Shockley. Mr. Shockley, could you address this board of the incident that took place in November of '88? What type of drug and what led to the incident and what led to this issue?
Yes, sir. I also have a letter that I could pass out to members of the board if they would like a copy of the letter that I wrote. Is there anyone I can give this to, or there's no need?
If you would just hold your letter for just a minute and then just kind of go over with us the incident.
Of course, this was 35 years ago. I was 19, in the car with some guys, buddies that I went to school with. We were doing what I guess teenage boys do, cruising around, and we got stopped by the police, and there was some marijuana in the car, and they charged all four of us with possession of marijuana and took us to jail.
Okay, thank you. Do you still use marijuana, or have you used marijuana since?
No, sir. I'm actually employed with the Memphis Fire Department for over 25 years. I also work at Le Bonheur Children's Hospital as an EDT. I do suture, splints, cast, IVs, draw blood, and I've been there 23 years.
Any questions of the members of the board? And I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve.
Right. Second.
Have a second from Commissioner Wright.
That was Commissioner Spangler.
Or Spangler on the motion. I'm sorry. Right, with the second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Good luck, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Moving on to item number 6, waivers to attend another academy, Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
Monroe County Sheriff's Office requests a waiver to change academies for Lori Watson McDaniel, hired July 24th of 2023. In January of 2007, Ms. McDaniel attended the Cleveland State Law Enforcement Training Academy but did not complete due to academic failure. Monroe County Sheriff's Office is requesting the waiver so that she may attend the Knox County Sheriff's Office Training Academy in August of 2023.
Mr. Chairman,
Recognize.
I'll need to abstain from this because I know Miss Watson, but I will say that she's a good person, excellent corrections officer, will make a outstanding deputy, and from my understanding, it's just as simple as the Sheriff's Office now sends their people to the Knox County Academy.
Sir, thank you. Chair will make a motion to approve.
Second.
Halsey a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving over to page 4. Waiver of basic training and substitution for in-service. Post Commission has 12, approved 12 post transition school waivers. The following request for substitution of basic waivers will enter in the agencies of record. Any discussion on any of these names or the departments that the board may have questions on? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Beverly.
Commissioner Beverly.
Just seeing that Rutherford County Sheriff's Office is involved, I'd just like the record to reflect I'm abstaining from this vote.
Understand. Will be one abstention. Any other issues?
Commissioner Spangler, I'll be doing the same as well since I'm on there.
That'll be 2.
Chairman, I'll be doing the same as well with Mercerville and Rutherford County.
That'll be 3. We're about to run out of members.
Move to approve what we got.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hulse and a second by Commissioner Wright. Any further discussion? There's none. All in favor of the motion indicate saying aye.
Aye.
And the record will reflect the abstentions. So moving on, thank you. To page 5, we're not showing any waivers of the in-service this month. We have going on to the 6-month rule, Benton County Sheriff's Office.
The Benton County Sheriff's Office requests a 6-month waiver for Trevor Austin Moranto, hired May 15, 2023. Mr. Moranto is unable to attend the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy in 2023 due to class availability and a previously scheduled engagement. Mr. Moranto is scheduled to begin training at the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy in January of 2024.
Thank you. Is there any additional comments or anything in reference to this case, Director?
No, sir.
If not, the Chair will make a motion to approve. Have a second by Commissioner Russell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Hardeman County Sheriff's Office.
The Hardeman County Sheriff's Office requests a 6-month waiver for Clayton Ray Morales, hired April 3rd, 2023. Mr. Morales was scheduled to attend the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy in July of 2023, but is unable to begin training due to an injury. Mr. Morales is scheduled to attend the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy in October of 2023.
Any additions or in the packet on that? Chair will make a motion to approve.
Halsey second.
Halsey a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Henry Police Department.
The Henry Police Department requests a 6-month waiver for Whitney Marie Sotheby, hired February 14th of 2023. Ms. Sotheby was scheduled to attend the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy in July of 2023, but is unable to begin training due to medical reasons. Ms. Sotheby is scheduled to attend the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy in October of 2023.
Are there any comments or questions on this? If not, Chair will make a motion to approve. Have a second, Commissioner Russell. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving over to page 6. Moore County Sheriff's Office.
The Moore County Sheriff's Office requests a 6-month waiver for Russell Dale Dotson Jr., hired March 20th of 2023. Mr. Dotson attended the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy in July of 2023, but was unable to complete training due to an injury. Mr. Dotson is scheduled to re-attend the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy in October of 2023.
Any questions or comments? Chair will make a motion to approve. Have a second, Commissioner Russell. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on page 6 of the agenda, waivers of the 8-month rule, none. Waivers for medical, none. Waivers for military leave, none. Moving over to page 7 of the agenda, applications for training. Officer post investigators have reviewed and approved 2 applications for training officer that met the criteria for approval. The officers listed did not, and there's none listed. Any questions about the applications? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Have a motion approved by Commissioner Wright.
Second by Spangler.
Second by Spangler. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Applications for certified instructor. Post investigators have reviewed and approved 14 applications. None of them have any issues. And also in that, the officers listed, if any, requested a waiver of 1-year training for officer requirements. That's going to be McMinn County Sheriff's Office, Jonathan Gray, Ray County Sheriff's Office, Christopher Rice. Any questions or comments? Reference applications for instructor. Commissioner Wright has a motion to approve, and Commissioner Jackson second. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Moving on to page 8. Curriculum and test for specialized training. Post investigators have reviewed and approved 110 in service and specialized training classes this month. Any questions or comments? If not, entertain a motion to approve.
Halsey, so moved.
Halsey, so moved. Second by Green. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to old business, Henning Police Department.
Henning Police Department, the post-investigation follow-up, the response from the 25th Judicial District Attorney's Office. If you'll recall that we brought matters of the Henning Police Department and Millersville PD before the commission back in March. At that time, the commission requested that we forward those matters to the local district attorney's office and report back to the commission. So Investigator Creed will update you on what they have found and what they're wanting to do to move forward and get you taken care of.
Investigator Creed, you're recognized.
Evan Creed, Post Investigator, KRIEB. I did send an email out to the District Attorney's Office in that jurisdiction for Henning Police Department. First of all, I believe Henning Police Department no longer exists. I believe they voted to disband their police department. But the District Attorney I spoke to was Julie Pillow. She's an Assistant District Attorney, and her email says, I spoke with General Davison. We reviewed what we believe to be relevant criminal statutes. We are both in the opinion that the information that we have been provided with regard to the use of non-certified officers in Henning does not rise to the level of being a criminal offense. So they are not pursuing the matter any further at their end.
Thank you. Is it our understanding that the city of Henning is not operating as a police department right now?
That is correct. The last I heard, Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department took over their jurisdiction, any call volume for their city.
All right. Any questions related to the Henning Police Department investigation? If not, move on to Millersville.
So So same thing. I sent a email to General Whitley, who's the 18th Judicial District Attorney. He responded directly back to me stating, "Thank you for contacting me about the situation in Millersville. After speaking with you, reading the report, and considering the requirements of TCA 38.8105, I have determined that prosecution in this matter is not called for, and I am therefore declining prosecution. This does not appear to be a blatant disregard for the law by anybody, and corrective measures are being taken and to comply with post-commission requirements according to the law." So they are declining prosecution on the matter also.
Okay, thank you. And where do we stand with these officers involved there with post right now?
I went to Millersville Police Department yesterday and picked up some records regarding part-time officers and reserve officers that Millersville currently has. Speaking with one of their lieutenants who turned over the files to me, I asked if they had any part-time employees, and he said, no, they have no part-time employees. And then the city manager chipped in and said that they do have a part-time employee by the name of Assistant Chief Allred, and that he is still a part-time employee. Did state that Melvin Brown, the chief of police, is no longer a part-time employee, that he's a full-time employee. Records show that Assistant Chief Allred is not enrolled in any academies either to go forward. I believe Chief Brown is still set to go to transition school, but according to their records, he's still a full-time officer. I just sent a clarifying email to Chief Brown because he responded to an email back to me about Allred being part-time, and I asked him if he's currently part-time. I'm still waiting for that email to be returned back. But as of yesterday, speaking to the city manager, he was a full-time employee.
So is it, Mr. Investigator, what you're reporting to this board is, are they operating illegally?
If Chief Brown is alone working in full-time capacity, I would say he would be still violating the post rules. I don't know if he's with another sworn officer, or I sent clarification to see if he is a part-time employee or a full-time employee. But as of yesterday, his file was not turned over to us as a part-time officer or a reserve officer. So, and then speaking with city manager Avery, he said he was a full-time officer. But Allred is still a part-time employee, and he's not enrolled in any academies with us. I believe he was enrolled, but now he's not enrolled.
Questions or comments?
Commissioner Isbell, and maybe it's for legal. I mean, obviously we have no control over the District Attorney General's decision to prosecute or not, but what authority do we have as a post commission to deal with this issue?
Well, we can do a cease and assist, or if it's a matter of issue. I mean, it's something that potentially TBI could be turned over to TBI, and if we've got law enforcement operating outside the scopes and the bounds and is not complying with the laws and the rules of the state of Tennessee, we keep going up to the higher powers.
One more thing, speaking with the city manager yesterday, he thought that Post approved Chief Brown to be a full-time officer since he enrolled in that transition school. I still requested part-time and reserve officers. He still thinks he could be a full-time officer, the city manager. So that's why I seek clarification from actual Chief Brown himself,
right?
If he's currently a full-time or part-time,
right? And if this still continues, have you been up to Millersville City Hall to pull any timesheets, payroll records, anything like that would show their status of the number of hours worked or amount of pay?
I was at City Hall yesterday, and we did get the part-time and reserve records. We did not get timesheets yet. When myself and Assistant Director Bello went there previously, they're salaried positions, so I don't know if there would be a timesheet for a part-time officer or a full-time officer. They're just salaried. So I don't know how their city government does salaried officers, if they actually have to fill out a manual timesheet or not, but that's something we could look into.
And also, you can pull their radio and communications records of when they're going in service and out of service and calculate those hours as well.
If they do that, yes, sir.
Right. We're not trying to put any more hardships, but also we want clear and transparent communications from the city of Millersville, and particularly the police department. It's cut and dry. If you're not in compliance, you're not in compliance, and you're in the public's eye. We see you. Everybody sees you, and you can't hide if you're working as a police officer in this state.
Yes, sir. And also, this information I just learned yesterday about Chief Brown still being a full-time officer. I will readdress this with the district attorney and see with this new information if he wants to pursue anything else differently.
Well, I would assume, since the camera's in my face today, that the camera might be in their face tomorrow. So, I would say that they need to take action. Any further questions or comments? You're recognized.
Didn't we approve Chief Brown for transition school?
I think we did.
And when is he scheduled to go?
I don't have that information in front of me. I believe Assistant Director Bello has that information in front of him.
He was originally approved to go in April or May, and he had an upcoming surgery, and the Post Commission actually approved a 6-month waiver on April 24th for him to push back that transition school due to his surgery. He is currently scheduled to attend transition school at the end of August.
Like I said, we don't want to cause any more unwanted attention to the city of Millersville. We just want to make sure that everybody's in compliance. But if somebody's not in compliance, it needs to be dealt with.
Yes, sir. And I just learned that new information yesterday and today with the email from Chief Brown.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Green, I've got one question about the assistant chief, that part-time or full-time, but he's an untrained person working in a law enforcement capacity.
Been through the academy several years ago. I believe the last time we had this matter before the commission, he went to the academy in 2006, 2007. That's just off the top of my head. And he went to Toledo at that time, but he was not a full-time capacity for over a decade. He was working, I believe, private security during that period.
Commissioner Wagner, I think we approved him. He had to go back to the academy, right?
Be a full-time officer,
Right.
yes, sir.
We did.
And I believe he was enrolled, but he's not enrolled any longer. And I haven't received any information of why or not, or if he's thinking about going full-time or anything like that.
So his certification is expired.
It expired over a decade ago, yes, sir. As a full-time officer, if he's working part-time, 20 hours a week, and not exceeding 100 hours a month, he could still work in a solo capacity with law enforcement powers.
Commissioner Beverly.
You're recognized.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your work on this.
Fun, sir.
I want to reference Estill Springs came out and they did a pre-employment waiver without that individual being employed with their agency, the way the rules are supposed to go. But yet I don't feel like this commission is getting full transparency with Millersville, and I, for one, would like to see some more supporting documents and some more, I guess, cooperation as we proceed with this. I understand we don't want to bring hardships on them, but a lot of questions are going unanswered that I feel like we could get some answers to.
And I concur with that, Mr. Beverly. Sometimes district attorneys may not realize the severity of liability on a city or county or even the state of Tennessee sometimes with things of this nature. But this seems to be a more commonplace issue here in our state here lately, and particularly with the assistant chief. That's I think is the big tie-up. He either needs to get in or get out of Millersville.
Sir, and for the administration part, whatever I've requested, they've given to me and no questions asked. So if I ask for timesheets or anything like that, I have a feeling I will get those timesheets. They're not going to hide them or like that. Any information I requested for them, they've complied with. So,
anything else?
One comment.
Yes, sir.
Chief Brown, if he goes to transition school the end of August, then he's certified, right? Because we approved it.
That's correct.
So he's
yeah.
just out of compliance between now and end of August.
It seems that way.
It'd give him
We gave him a 6-month waiver just because you have to be registered for a class within 6 months of hire date, and he was going to be out of that due to the surgery. So we gave him that 6-month waiver to give him some more time to get into transition school.
I think that's the information the city manager is going on, that we got them a 6-month waiver. He thinks probably, I'm speaking out of terms, but
Yes, at this point, what we're saying is he can't do any law enforcement duties unless he's with another officer.
That's correct.
Or work in a part-time capacity, which is what they were doing when we were there in February. They agreed to put Chief Brown and Assistant Chief already in a part-time capacity to stay in compliance with our rules.
Mr. Chairman.
You're recognized, Mr.
I guess if I'm understanding this correctly, the chief is not certified at this moment to perform in a full-time law enforcement capacity.
that is correct. As a full-time officer, he's not.
And his assistant chief is not certified but is performing in a part-time capacity.
According to what Millersville is telling me, he is working part-time. I'm getting phone calls from people from Millersville that have not been proven, but that he's working more than 20 hours a week. But I have not been able to prove that.
But if the assistant chief of Millersville and the chief of Millersville are working together and performing law enforcement functions, neither one of them is in compliance with the commission rules, correct?
As a full-time officer, that's correct, and not compliant.
You just figured out two negatives. In this case, do not make a positive.
That is true.
Anything further? I don't know if
I'd
we
like to ask.
You're recognized, Chief Faulkner.
It seems to me we need to take some action here. And so maybe legal needs to guide us or someone, but I think what we've just concluded, we have to articulate, we have to document, and then we have to advise the city of Millersville and the police department there that these are the actions, that these are the next steps, and this is what's going to happen if you don't. I think we have to be very firm on this. That's just my opinion.
Well, if Investigator Cree believes that there's more, it sounds like that there is, I would sort of, I think in the direction that we're going, is have him gather whatever additional documents related, particularly to hours, and then report back. You already sort of know where the servicing district attorney's office stands as of right now on this. So, short of involving the TBI, I think we're sort of at a point of just gathering more information to corroborate, for example, what you said about the other folks are saying that the assistant chief is maybe not working part-time, but is working full-time.
Yes, sir.
We don't know. It's just, but that's what you've been rumored to have heard.
Every 2 or 3 weeks, we'll receive a phone call
Right.
stating that they're not in compliance and working alone and stuff like that.
And it's in my opinion that, these gentlemen have been around Tennessee law enforcement a long time. Melvin Brown's been around Tennessee law enforcement, and they may be watching live today. And my suggestion to them is, if you're not in compliance, you need to stop action now for your own liability and the city of Millersville. If the district attorney general is watching, these are illegal actions. And when a district attorney general doesn't take action, unfortunately, like in many other states, the governor of the state has to take action, or the state attorney general's office may have to take action. I hope we don't get to that point over these type issues of playing the system, so to speak. But I think that's the direction that we as a board have to move this forward. If we can't get some judiciary in that judicial district some help, and we're trying to protect the citizens of Millersville, and we're trying to protect the judicial system of that city and the citizens of that city, and there's a whole lot of liability laying out there besides some violation of TCA. Anything else? Go forth and do good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving over to page 9, new business for discussion, 2023 audit inspections and results. Director Bello, you're recognized.
The listed audit inspections were completed in compliance with post rules for Blount County, Chattanooga PD, Cleveland State, Knox County, Knoxville PD, Memphis, Metro Nashville, Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy, Tennessee Highway Patrol, and Walter State. Those are all the academy inspections that we are mandated to do. And no findings to report and no recommendations on any of them.
Questions or comments? And I'm trying to count up the abstentions we're going to have.
Commissioner Spangler, I will also.
Duly recognized. Have a motion to approve. And we have a second by Commissioner Hulsey. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving over to page 10, Middleton Police Department.
The Middleton Police Department requests a waiver of the late submission of the required in-service training hours for the 2022 calendar year and for the 2022 salary supplement be issued for the following officers: Thomas Edwin Avery, Anderson Arnest Bowden, and Richard Wayne Webb.
Do you have any additional information?
Yes, sir. We received their salary supplement just a few days before the 1st of July. So they did not meet, obviously, with the new calendar year, new fiscal year, new budget. We were not able to process their payment in time, their salary supplement paperwork to get them processed and paid. Being that that'll have to come out of the new fiscal budget, something that we felt the commission should make that decision and be aware of, that they were late. We had the same issue with them last year. So we felt that this needed to come before the board for approval.
But did they give you any indication of why it was late, 2 years and second year? Chief, are you on this morning? Can you hear me? You can unmute, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Chief,
can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. We run into issues here where the state, they have our in-service stipends down to the penny every year for the number of law enforcement officers in the state, and when we go over the end of the year and it goes into the next year's budget, and it kind of makes hardships on the Department of Revenue. This is the second year in a row here. What can you tell us why what your holdup is on the process of your paperwork?
Yes, sir. During the year of 2022, it was only 2 officers employed. November 27th, I was fortunate enough to hire on another full-time. So in the process of trying to get all of our in-service done and getting, our firearms and range and all that completed, I didn't get that done till right at the end of the year. And thereafter, I just dropped the ball on reporting, and I thought I had to June the 30th to report, but after being, I found out that was the deadline, but that was not the deadline to report, to have everything in, all the documentation in.
Okay, where are you at for this year for 23-24? Because you've got, all this has got to be done by end of December.
Yes, sir. We do. We're doing our in-service through Police One Academy.
Yes, sir.
So it's automatically reported, all but our community service and our firearms. Okay. So we're in the process of doing it right now.
Any other questions, comments from the board? If not, the chair will make a motion to approve them.
Second by Wagoner.
Have a second by Commissioner Wagger. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye. Opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries. Chief, let's try not to make this the third year in a row now. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Stay of judgment request for William Andrew, and I'll let you pronounce that last name.
Yes, Chairman. William Andrew Matsunaga, he was decertified at a formal hearing that we had previously. He has sent in a request that we stay that judgment until he can complete his appeal process.
This the Wagoner. Is this the former state trooper?
That's correct, sir.
Well, I don't know that a stay will, if this board is voted, I think, in my opinion, as far as discussion on that is, if he gets in an appeal and that appeal would go to the Chancery Court of Davidson County, is that correct?
Eventually, it goes to or it can go to, with the new rules, it can go to any Chancery Court.
Go to any Chancery Court, and if they overturn it, then the stay is kind of a moot point.
It would generally have to be something. Looking at the Trooper Matsunuga's request, it appears that he doesn't really provide anything that, the commission can consider it, but I don't know that I see anything that would prompt me to recommend that you stay the initial order.
Any other questions or comments?
Commissioner Isbos, make a motion to disapprove.
Disapprove, and I have a second by Commissioner Green. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, on all in favor of the motion of disapproval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The judgment of this board will stay as is. Post-investigative report, Grundy County Sheriff's Office.
On April 3rd of 2023, Post conducted a follow-up investigation of the Grundy County Sheriff's Office. During that post-investigation, it was discovered that non-certified officers had been working solo and records had not been submitted to Post. Investigator Bruce Cantrell was working on that investigation.
Investigator Cantrell, you're hereby recognized.
Morning. So as Assistant Director Bella said, I was doing a follow-up and an online audit of their records in ACADIS. There were multiple discrepancies on the audit found where they just weren't updating their paperwork in ACADIS. And as he said, there was officers that were reported to be working solo patrol that weren't even certified. Since then, the whole investigative team made a trip to Grundy County, and we were able to independently verify that there was at least one non-certified officer working solo. He admitted to Director Bello and Investigator Creed. He was at a school at the time, and a staff member from one of the schools called Sheriff Gunner and informed him that we were at the school while Supervisor Cooper and myself were at the sheriff's office. And he sent a certified deputy who had a trainee with him over to the school to be able to say that the deputy at the school was not working solo. But prior to his arrival, he had already made the admission to Investigator Creed and Director Bello that he was working solo and that he wasn't happy about it. That specific deputy was registered to come to Toledo January of this year, and for whatever reason he was not able to, or maybe he departed shortly after getting here. I believe that was the only time that he was actually signed up for the academy. I'm sorry, he was also...
Which officer was that?
Officer John Trevor Dykes. He was actually scheduled to come July 9th as well. And as of a couple of days ago when I checked, he still was not at the academy.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt you. Just trying to I know we're going to run into multiple officers, it sounds like, and I'm just trying to get her name straight.
Yes, sir. There was a Captain Ronald Bess, Bess, who was the captain over patrol, and he was scheduled. If I can find my form. He was registered for the January class of this year and April class of this year, and failed to show both times. As of sometime in June, he was transferred over to corrections, and I verified that with the director of TCI, who said that he is registered for a basic corrections class. There was a third one, I'm sorry. Lonnie Bradford was scheduled for the January and April classes and failed to show for either.
Is it my understanding that Bradford's no longer employed?
Correct. He is no longer there.
Okay.
There was a letter sent by Sheriff Gunner to Director Bello, I believe back in March, stating that all three officers, I'll just read the letter to you. Dear Post, I'm writing you in reference to Deputy Ron Bess and asking if I can get a waiver hearing for Deputy Bess for the 3-week transition school. This one was for Bess. We had already did a hearing, and I believe it was passed at the moment based on other things. There's another one. Dear Post, I'm writing you in reference to change of academy for Ronald Dale Bess, Lonnie Ray Bradford, and John Trevor Dykes from Toledo to Cleveland State Community College Police Academy due to them paying for the academy themselves. Please email or feel free to call me on what I need to do on this situation. My email is thank you for your assistance. I went to Cleveland State and spoke with the director, the assistant director, and their secretary. The secretary advised me that she knows that they had not even signed up yet, because you first have to sign up, or you first have to apply to the school, and then once your application gets approved, then you apply to the academy. And then once she approves your application for the academy, she sends you an invoice. And she said, I can already tell you that none of the three have paid to come here.
Commissioner Wagner, we've dealt with 2 of these before, right? Bradford and Bess.
Bradford and Bess.
Now Bradford doesn't even work there, right?
That's my understanding.
But Bess was, he's gone over to corrections.
Transferred to corrections,
which he doesn't have to be certified to do.
Correct.
Seems like it's
Dykes, what is his position, or that Deputy Dykes? What is the position Deputy Dykes is in?
Just deputy. He was, when we were there, he was, I guess, in the role of an SRO, being that he was at the school by himself. But his official title is just deputy. And we were able to get timesheets for Dykes and Bess starting from January through April. And it shows both of them working full-time hours the whole time.
This is Wagner again. Is Dykes, in Dykes' case, is this something, is the administrator not letting him go to school, or why? Did you ask him why?
I haven't been able to talk to him personally, but he was actually registered for the academy and for whatever reason didn't show up.
So Bradford's out of the picture.
Yes, sir.
Says he's not employed. So we're down to two, well, possibly one if Bess is reassigned to the jail.
And there was actually another one back in September who I don't believe he's there anymore. Barry Parker, who we were told that he was not performing law enforcement duties, even though he wasn't certified. But I've got record of him responding emergency traffic to an officer-involved shooting from his home. He was called by the dispatcher. I've got 911 records. She called him and told him, and he responded in a county vehicle, emergency traffic, and actually ended up backing into a TBI vehicle while he was on scene. There's a THP crash report, and I've got a copy of the body cam video.
Many, do we know how many SROs they have up there?
Officially none. They had about 20 some odd people resign the night before the sheriff took office. And so according to school staff, when Director Bello and Investigator Krieg were there, they said they have not had an SRO all year.
So this April 3rd, the day that you went?
No, sir, it was May, I believe.
May. You're recognized.
Kevin Krieg. Myself and Bello went to the school. We went to one school straight out of the bat. It was an elementary school. There was no SRO there. They said there was no SRO for the whole year at that school. They directed us to the Board of Education. We went to the Board of Education and spoke to an employee there, and she actually went around and called every school and asked if they had an SRO. I believe their high school had an SRO on premises. I believe another SRO was out on maternity leave. And then the school we went to, where the uncertified deputy was working, he was working as the capacity of an SRO. Uncertified, and also has not been to an SRO school. So as far as that day, I believe we had 2 working SROs and 1 out on maternity leave that day. I do not know if they currently, summer's in session now. I don't know what they're going to have in August when that comes around.
Can we, Director Bello, do we know what the status of any transition schools or recruit schools or new basic academy? Do we know what enrollment that Grundy County Sheriff's Office has right now?
They just recently submitted several pre-employment packets to us. We've been working with them the last several months, and actually went down there just a few weeks ago to sit down with them to get their files organized and get their stuff submitted. I think we're still missing 1 packet, but he was a previously certified officer within the time constraints that would not need transition school or full basic. The other 2 officers that were newly hired also appeared to be certified. I don't think they have anybody at the time that needs transition school or basic academy.
May 23rd.
While we were there, when they went to the school, Supervisor Cooper and myself went to the sheriff's office to get timesheets, and they were given a list of discrepancies back in September, early September, when Director Bello and Director Kane went, and they had similar complaints. They went and paid a visit to them. They were given the sheriff was given a list of discrepancies, and as of May 23rd, those still had not been completely corrected.
What was the most significant issue that needed to be corrected? Do you know kind of a prioritized list?
Is Taylor correct to be? They've got one in transition school, but she is registered and all her paperwork is in, so we're good there. I think the pattern that we're seeing since September, when the new administration went into office, is just not getting paperwork into post. We don't know who's working the road, not getting them registered for an academy, having these guys working by themselves. It's problematic because, again, they've got some officers that have had some criminal history issues that we've had to vet through, and we can't have those folks out working the road by themselves before we approve and go through their paperwork and make sure that they meet the standards that are set by our rules.
I've got the list right here that Director Bello gave to them. Their chief needed a pre-employment packet. He was previously certified. Captain Bess was out for more than 7 years and needed a basic academy and pre-employment. Barry Parker was out for more than 7 years, needed basic and possible pre-employment waiver and a pre-employment packet. Les Turner didn't need anything. Donald Dykes was part-time. Kayla Seagross needed transition school, a employment history update, and a pre-employment packet. Deputy Deffendahl was part-time. Jackson was part-time. Voss was part-time. Deputy Cantrell needed nothing. Deputy Cardella was part-time. Deputy Schism needed nothing. John Dykes, potential applicant. Jordan Dykes, potential applicant. And Brad Bradford, potential applicant, might need pre-employment waiver for possible DUI.
I remember Bradford came before us and he was given a waiver. I remember Bradford and Bess both came before this committee and they were both set to report to the academy for orientation that afternoon. I guess they went to orientation and then did not show back up.
Correct.
To report to the academy, and then we started getting waivers that I want to go here and I want to go there. And we said, no, you're coming here.
Correct.
And then it kind of split out from there. Is that, remember my timeline correct?
Mr. Chair.
You're recognized.
Commissioner Isbell, there's a lot to digest here, of course, but I want to go back to the site visit. I want to make sure I understood it correctly. That you went to the school. There was a non-certified officer working full-time in the school. While you were there, another deputy arrived and said that he was, in fact, training the officer that was working solo in the school.
Director Krieb and Director Bello were there at the school.
Kevin Krieb again. So when we were present at the school, we were talking to Deputy Dykes in a back area of the school area, and I believe it was the school principal came in and said, "There's 2 other guys here for you guys," and we're like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "I'll go get them." And he came back and he brought back 2 officers, one certified, one non-certified. They said they were there just to check up on anything. They didn't say they were there to work with him as a certified deputy or anything like that. They were just there to check up on us because they heard we were in the schools. So they didn't specifically say they were there to say they were working with him because he was non-certified, from what I remember. But what was the most alarming part of that visit is the elementary school's front doors were wide open. We walked right into the school. We walked around for a little bit before we even were approached by anyone. It was very not safe to have a deputy in there and a school resource officer who's not certified in there. That was the most alarming thing to me that day.
But while we were at the sheriff's office talking with the sheriff, he made mention that he had gotten a phone call that Post was at his school. His exact words were, "I'm very well versed that Post is at my school," and he said, "It may not be, but I feel like this is becoming a personal attack."
kind of take offense to that when I think this board and this staff, and as well as other surrounding sheriffs, have offered an extending hand and advice.
And my first contact with the sheriff over the phone, I told him, because they were having problems with getting their salary supplement submitted. They were, I think they didn't get it submitted till late March or early April. And I told him while I was on the phone with Chief King, he had me on speaker, and there was Chief King, Lieutenant Seagroves, and the sheriff there. I told him, if you ever have any questions, please feel free to call me. We're here to help you fix what you need to, if we can fix it. And I haven't gotten any phone calls to that nature so far.
Sounds like they don't need any help. Commissioner Beverly, you recognize.
Thank you. And this was more from your visit. I see on here that even Deputy Dykes recognized his need for training and to complete the academy because there was a situation where there was an order of protection issue and he had to call for backup. But granted, if that same issue reared its head before your visit, no one was there. Is that correct? Is that my understanding?
The office, Deputy Dykes, was very concerned over that matter because he didn't know how to handle it, and he actually had to call the sheriff himself to come and handle the situation. He said it worked out fine. There was no violence, no issues, anything like that. It's just he was very uneducated and felt like he needed more knowledge based on it.
One other question. Is Mr. Shirley still employed? I know we've got quite a few names going around.
Which one?
Shirley?
Cassidy Shirley?
Yes.
She is not. She is with one of the city agencies there. I don't remember exactly.
And Epoch. Looking at the report.
I know she was scheduled to go back because the director at Cleveland State made mention of that when I was there, that because he knew that she was affiliated with Grundy County at the time she went through, and there was an issue with either EVOC or firearms where she had to go home that week because of some kind of illness she had at the time, and they just didn't want it to spread throughout the class. And so there was that, and she failed her DT and was supposed to go back.
My fear is, though, that the department potentially inherits some type of issue because we're having to play catch up here.
Correct.
This was Chastity Shirley.
Yes.
Does not appear that she's employed with any department at this time. Of course, Grundy County never submitted paperwork that she was ever employed at Grundy County, so there's no employment history with Grundy County. Looks like in April of this year, she got hired by Whitwell Police Department and resigned in lieu of termination on July 5th of this year. But it does not appear that she's attended any academy or been certified or completed the academy. We have no paperwork that she's completed.
And just I've also had two separate investigations that have spanned off of this one. I'm still working on getting complete files on the two individuals, but there's one who has shown a pattern of criminal charges in the past while he was an officer in Georgia. And then there's another one who was terminated from Warren County, but I have not received any information back from the sheriff there on the grounds for termination.
Chairman.
You're recognized.
Commissioner Spangler, I'm going to make a motion that we request the presence next month of the sheriff or chief or whoever we need to have to come in here and let them explain to us everything that the investigators have done and let them be in front of us to tell us what's going on.
That to put them on the informal?
Whichever, whether it be the informal or at least in front of this commission, one or the other.
I think we ought to do it, Wagner. I think we ought to do it for this body because we have everybody. We'll have.
Right.
Mr. Wright, I've got a couple questions, if you don't mind. This sheriff was elected went into office September last year.
Yes, he would have took off September 1st, 22.
Is this his first time being a sheriff, or?
Yes.
Wagner,
He's been a police officer for several years prior to this.
I think he was a SRO. Was that my understanding?
The last
Mountain.
agency before Grundy County, he was an SRO with Signal Mountain.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Sure.
You're recognized, Mr. Beverly.
And this is more of a question for legal. If we do bring him up to this commission next month, what are our options after that? What can we start considering within ourselves that we might want to take?
Well, you sort of have the full range that you normally would have with any other officer. I mean, there's anything that allows anything that's described as discipline under the rules would be technically on the table. Now, having looked at this myself, there are some problems in terms of, I think that their bookkeeping. Well, their bookkeeping. There are people that are not in a cadence that should be. There are people that apparently are working solo that should be. There's also some issues that are not really for post. It might be potentially, much like the Millersville TBI or the DA. Just a suggestion, there might be an opportunity here to conduct a regular audit. And regular could be whatever you all sort of set it as every 3 months or every other month. I don't know. It might be I want to put a strain on the staff to continually go to Grundy County, but at least looking at this from my perspective, I don't know that we're at the decertification point. So. But and to your point, Commissioner Wagner, or I'm not sure who mentioned it, that bringing the department here or the sheriff here would be within the commission's purview, and I would probably suggest that it be done as opposed to the informal, just at a regular meeting with the full commission here.
The issue seems to be sheriff is certified, right?
Correct.
So he doesn't have a problem. It's his people. And I don't know what his issue is about the personal. This getting to be a personal attack. But the options for the sheriff's office, I remember from another county, was we can only decertify the department.
The sheriff could be decertified. Removing the sheriff would be a matter of the county body would have to do that, but no, the certificate.
I'm thinking, give him have to be in compliance. He's not in compliance.
Well, I think the standpoint from the view I'm looking at is we have injected every resource to Grundy County, and we're still getting the I don't care attitude. That's where we're at. I mean, we've had our whole investigative division down there. Director Kane himself and Director Bello have been down there. They've given them their personal cell phone numbers. They've put it out in ABC 1, 2, 3. This is what you've got to do. These are the requirements, step by step by step. We had discussions in sheriff's school, step by step by step. Comptrollers, step by step by step, and keep on. And Grundy County keeps coming up into our agendas, and we're getting a full investigative report of where we're at with deputies and these games that Bess and Bradford have done, and I recall Sheriff Gunner standing before us that day when I told Bess and Bradford to have their tennis shoes ready. And Sheriff Gunner made a comment, well, I've got a plan B or something else. And we adjourned. And here we are. I don't know that bringing Sheriff Gunner up here before this board, if he's either not going to understand what we're telling him or if he doesn't care what we're telling him. But somehow or another, these chiefs and sheriffs that just don't want to comply like the rest of us are doing, I don't know what it takes. And if the district attorney generals in some of these districts, it sounds like from what I've heard today, I'm going to get on another one of these TV rants, but they don't seem to care either. I don't know, other than, what powers we have of our investigators to arrest people and make them make bond. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do, but Grundy County's in sad shape. It sounds like you're recognized, Chief Faulkner.
I don't know about Grundy County. In my county, Williamson County, school starts in 2 weeks.
It does.
2 weeks from today.
Right.
And Commissioner Long has been to the Chiefs Association meetings, and he's made it pretty clear the governor's not playing.
He's not.
On the school safety. And I know that they are appointing a Homeland Security agent to every county. I don't know whether one's been assigned to Grundy County, but they certainly should be notified of this, especially doors being left open. This is appalling. I don't know about y'all, but I mean, this whole thing about school safety is serious. And it's becoming personal with me. I don't know about him. I don't even know him. But this is ridiculous. It's outrageous. And he's like thumbing his nose at the rules and regulations of the commission.
You're recognized.
Do we think that could we turn this over, us keep doing our investigations and things of that nature, but still turn this yet over to the TBI and let them start some investigation as well? Maybe them showing up will get a little bit more attention, or
I don't know if
or
as
is that
far
even
as
doable?
legal, I don't know if any request would have to be made by the local district attorney general for that, or if that comes under your, I hate using the word, but public corruption statute, where TBI can do something on their own without the request of the district attorney general. I know the one thing that gets everybody's attention is when you start the informal to the formal. That's when that attention takes place. But I'm up to the Sheriff Spangler's recommendation. If you want to make a try at bringing them back up here and asking them to come, I mean, I don't know that we can force anybody to come. We don't have a subpoena power that I know of, but if we want to bring them back at your suggestion and have a conversation and do a restart, but he's soon to be in office a year, it sounds like.
I may add, speaking of the guy and DA's office, it has been made known to me that there has been some known dishonesty from the sheriff to both of those offices.
Bill, we will sure be all ears if you want. If there's a dishonesty issue or something that wants to be disclosed to y'all, and that can be presented, and District Attorney General has they're the chief law enforcement officer of the district. So
I will reach out to both and see if they'll at least write out a statement.
Are you making a motion, Sheriff Spangler?
I am.
Is your motion to ask them to come and speak with us?
That is correct.
Okay. That's second by Commissioner Green. Any further discussion?
Chairman.
You're recognized.
I do. And again, I don't believe it was touched on, but on page 4 of our report, there is, I guess, an instance of a chief deputy that stopped the booking process on an attempted murder suspect who's a relative.
Correct.
And that person was housed in the Grundy County Jail for X amount of days, uncharged.
Initially, it was told to me that she was kept there. I guess this happened on a Friday, and she was kept there till Monday till she could see a judge. But I talked with another source after that, who was in the jail and got the phone call about it, or worked in the jail at the time and got the phone call about it. This arrestee was kept, I believe, 6 or 8 hours before she was allowed to be booked in, but it was a Monteagle officer arrested this lady for attempted murder because she stabbed a guy. Chief King came in and told the corrections officer, do not book her on that charge. It doesn't fit the crime. And so the corrections officer, not knowing what to do, called the jail administrator, and she told him, if that's what the officer charged her with, that's what you have to book her under, if that's what's on his paperwork. And from what I've been told, the chief did not allow it for approximately 6 to 8 hours. And then it's been alleged that supposedly the arrestee is either a cousin or niece of the chief.
That brings up my next point. Chief Deputy. That brings up my next point of, I understand that the TBI can only be called in at the request of the District Attorney General, and I'm not sure where they may be at pursuing this, but my question, I guess, to legal is, could we, based on what we find out next month, potentially ask the State Attorney General's office to step in?
It certainly can be an ask, yes.
The reason why I ask is when we individually think about our next steps, I, for one, can say that's something I'm considering.
Yeah, and more than likely, I mean, in certain cases that we've dealt with already this morning, I mean, they would probably pro tem those on the local level, would pro tem those out. But if they don't want to pursue them, they're DOA. But we as a state board, I think, have that request that we can go, do we not, to formally request the state attorney general to look in, because I know they have those options.
And it's like with a lot of other board, like our reg boards in this agency, sometimes depending on the level of severity that that it's involved in a complaint, whether it's a contractor or a realtor or Cosmo barbershop, the DA's office is sometimes reached out to inquire whether they will pursue on behalf of the state at the request of the agency. But again, it's kind of like it's an asker, not a tasker.
Right. And I'll also point out that the matters concerning corrections were turned over to TCI, and they're doing their investigations and inspections currently as well.
They did an inspection, I believe it was a month ago. They found several discrepancies. There was sentencing paperwork that wasn't filed correctly, time paperwork for the inmates. And so they scheduled a reinspection for July 29th. And Director Wall from TCI reached out to me, I believe it was a week or two ago, and said that Grundy County has recently called them and request to move it forward to this week, and that they were requesting some technical assistance. I don't know what that entails, but they're supposed to be out there sometime this week.
Well, I just, I don't want anybody to think that we're trying to pick on them, but when people's lives are at danger, and you particularly with us sheriffs, and you're dealing with jails and inmates and all the things that go forward with that, you're again, it's our job to protect the citizens of the state and Grundy County, whether they're inmates or not. There's a due diligence there, and these things can get month out, and there's a lot of damage that can be done in 30 days. So
that's correct. It's Commissioner Wright again, and him coming up here before us. I mean, he's been before us before, and it just to me don't feel like we would really be gaining much traction. And that 30 days, I'm kind of afraid, like school starting and everything else in the meantime, of what could happen. I mean, we know how serious we all are and our governor is on school safety. Is this something that we could bring our commissioner up to speed, and then her, potentially enlighten the governor's office and him direct an investigation of some kind? It seems to me like a higher law enforcement agency should be getting involved at this point in time.
I would, and I don't want to forget Sheriff Spangler's motion, but I mean,
Like Commissioner Beverly, I think Attorney General's office ought to be looking at this. They're the ones that's got the authority.
Well,
TBI is going to go whatever the district attorney or district local
right.
guy's going to do.
We can,
and we're just putting them in the middle.
we can do multiple things here. We can vote on Tom Sheriff Spangler's motion and put that in place, and then we can also make a motion that the staff investigators go sit down with the local district attorney general and move forward in what they think's the best game plan for their district and for that county. Yes, sir.
Chair, is there a status change that we can do for that agency while this is pending, while if he's going to appear before us, while the investigation continues? Is there a status change that we need to take or can take?
Don't know what we would do on status. I mean, they're going to be, we can't close their doors. We can't, until we have some kind of go through the informal and the formal.
I may
Yes.
something else. In one of the additional investigations that I've got going on from them, there's one deputy who was previously certified in Georgia. This has been a hot topic of discussion between us and the investigative division. He has shown a pattern since 2002 of criminal charges while he's been a police officer. He was convicted in Kentucky in 2002 for stalking and harassment, and subsequently got that expunged. Then went down to Georgia and at some point started dating a Waycross police officer. He says they were dating. She says she was going through a divorce at the time and they were just casually hanging out. But he started stalking her. She broke it off with him. She started dating somebody else, and her and the boyfriend at the time and her young son were going somewhere and realized they forgot something at the house. So they went back. She said, I'm going to go check the mail. Y'all go in through the house into the garage and get the car seat, because she had to disable her keypad on her garage because of this guy. And she said they went in, the boyfriend and her son went in, and as soon as they stepped into the garage from the house, they saw this guy's truck in the garage, and he's standing in the corner and looks at the boyfriend and said, "Gotcha." So, of course, they're scared. They run out. Before they could get out to the yard, Norris opens the garage door and runs out and starts fighting for physical control of her vehicle with her. Eventually, he stops and leaves, and he was charged with stalking and criminal trespass. That was August of 2011. In October of 2011, she got a phone call from the wife of another deputy. At the time, Norris was working for Ware County Sheriff's Office, which is where Waycross is. And she got a call from another deputy's wife saying, "You're not safe." She asked her what was going on, and the lady told her, "I know everything that you did yesterday because he has cameras in your house." So she goes to her chief and tells him about that and an incident where she had to meet with one of her sergeants because Norris was following her on and off duty. She said the night she met with her sergeant, she noticed every traffic stop she made and every call she went to, he was there. He was off duty at the time, but he would even follow her in his patrol vehicle. The chief decided to set up surveillance on her house, and she said it only lasted about 2 to 3 days before he actually showed back up. One of the officers, the chief put his narcotics unit and half of his K-9 unit on surveillance on her house. On October 8th or October 11th, one of the perimeter officers saw a vehicle slow roll past her house at 5 o'clock in the morning and parked right down the street from her, and came up and walked up to the house and was trying to open the garage door. And when the officer went at that person and identified himself as a police officer, he took off running back to his vehicle and left. Well, they figured out it was Norris and found out about an hour or so later, according to the report, that he was at Shoney's with another deputy. And according to the officer that wrote the report, he was trying to build his alibi by having the deputy there with him to say that he was not over at her house, because he mentioned to the deputy that Waycross was looking for him. And then at that time, he was charged with aggravated stalking because she actually had an order of protection against him. And he was also charged with obstruction for running. Fast forward to 2014, it went to court, both cases. He was arrested on both cases and went before the court, and the DA refused to prosecute him. There's no known reason why. She has speculated to me when I actually reached out to the victim day before yesterday, and she had speculated that he didn't want to, I guess, face the political repercussions of prosecuting an officer, which he lost support from a lot of officers, according to what she said, once he dismissed the case. The DA filed a motion to dismiss, and it was granted. Then in 2018, he was indicted along with another Walker County deputy. He was at Walker County Sheriff's Office at the time. Him and another deputy were indicted by GBI for commit attempted rape, false imprisonment, and aggravated assault. And again, the case was dropped by that DA. On the motion to dismiss, it was listed as due to the general unavailableness and transience of the victim. I've talked with the director of the Post Council in Georgia this week. I'm still waiting to get the full record from her, but she was surprised that he was not revoked. After the first incident, he was put on 36 months probation and forced to take a domestic violence class. So, I mean, if that speaks to the safety of the Grundy County citizens.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion? Does everybody understand the motion? Okay. All in favor of Sheriff Spangler's motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. I'm going to make another motion. I'm going to make a motion that staff investigators do sounds like you've already done a pretty good complete audit, but we need to get a detailed compiled audit of every employee with Grundy County between now and the time the sheriff is asked to come. I don't know that I need a motion on that, but I would suggest that we kind of get that in a
right away
breakdown.
When would you like to see him come before the commission?
Sooner the better. I would have him on the agenda for next month, being that the severity of, I mean, I know Grundy County has several schools. They're going to be receiving, SRO grant money, and, things need, if we can do things to get this county squared away and get things flowing, they need to be, I don't know where they're at in trying to get some folks hired. but Commissioner Faulkner's correct. The monies are there, and it's meant to be done. And we can go there. I'd also suggest communicating with the local attorney general, and see, you know, present your case to her, and I'm sure she's pretty abreast of the situation, but
all this is
anything else on Grundy County matter. Okay, moving on. I think we real quick discuss House Bill number 448. That's the public comment section. It's generally, I think, in most committee meetings, or it is for us, you insert public comments at the front of your agendas. Does anybody have a problem with that? My suggestion, Director Bello, is I would put them in there at administrative, along with just after administrative matters. I would suggest that we have a sign-up sheet in whatever room that we're meeting in at that day. Sign up for public comments.
Well, you can ask for them to give prior notice. You can limit their time. There's a lot of things that are available to you as far as how you want to do that.
Well, I mean, until we start having a problem or something. But I think is there a requirement, or we can ask that they give name and address. Is that correct? I think. Well, we can look just name, but I suggest no more than 20 minutes allotted, with 2 minutes each. I think is kind of the standard. Does anybody else from the other ends of the state or have any? Is that correct? Do we need a motion and a second on that? If that's,
I mean, it's imposed on us, but I think it's a good idea to do it. But yeah, and just to point out too is that the public, given their time to comment, the commission members will not have to engage with them. So literally, they could come up here, say their piece, and then on. No one would have to ask any questions or entertain anything beyond that. So comment is just that comment.
Mr. Chairman, I ran into a little bit of an issue with this in Rutherford County, and we actually had to double back. We adopted a policy setting a time limit of 30 minutes with capped at 3 minutes for each individual. And if you had more than 10 people wishing to speak, the time was adjusted to allow everyone equal time. And then the body had the ability to amend this policy on a 2/3 vote, or we went with 2/3. You can do a 50-50 to expand the time if we see fit. It's just we had the mindset we wanted to get ahead of this rather than behind it or try to deal with something day of. And that's just from experience.
Duly noted. Any other issues we need to deal with? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. We are hereby adjourned.
Mr. Chair, I do have an announcement. We are adjourned, but I do have an announcement.
One announcement.
I'd like to tell everybody today is Senator Ed Jackson's 45th birthday.
Well, congratulations, Senator. We hope you have a great day and a happy birthday today. So we'll give you a round of applause. Happy birthday. Any other special announcements? Hearing none.
Goodbye.
We're goodbye.
What would happen if we decertified the head of the sheriff?
Decertify the head of the agency. That takes his law enforcement.
The worst part about it is that he's right on that line of it's.
It would be he'd still be the sheriff, but it'll be left to the county government body and or the district attorney general to bring forward. So the county governing body, the county mayor, and the commission can do an impeachment process, or the district attorney, the state attorney general. State attorney general can do an impeachment or ouster process, and the local state.
So the question, which is why he was approved when the paperwork got sent in, he got approved because he meets all the requirements. So then the question becomes, well, do you put that as, under good moral character? And the pattern where it seems to be every couple of years he's getting an arrest.
You're pretty well there. You have
He's getting arrested for something that's a similar stalking harassment, so.
From the own collection.